our decisions. Because the way we do it now can hide it. Go anywhere where there's a solar field in the county, pull up the zoning map, and what does it say? It says agricultural. You look at that map, you think that's agricultural, but it's not. It's industrial. I know because I live right across the street from one. I look at it every day. And as these things continue to proliferate in the county, our zoning map's not going to be honest. It might be accurate, but it's not going to be honest. It's zoned agricultural. It's got an industrial use on it. If you do that, it's really simple. You want to put in a solar field? Here's the rules over in industrial. We're going to rezone from this to this. Now, I realize that opens up another can of worms because once you rezone it into industrial, you've got it into any industrial. But it forces us to make that decision. And right now, we're kind of doing this one at a time, one at a time, one at a time. And what we, in effect, end up with is spot zoning because we're going to have these things scattered out all over the place. Now, maybe that's not the right answer. Maybe my suggestion is not the right way to do it. But I also don't think the way we're doing it currently is the right way to do it because we're going to come back again. We're going to have the same conversation again. We keep having the same presentations, the same briefings again and again and again. And I just think there's a better way to do that. And I appreciate your time and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next person is Tony Tyree.
My name is Tony Tyree. I live in the South River District on Irish Creek Road. In favor of the comprehensive plan, at least the draft that I've been able to look at. I believe that proper planning definitely helps you avoid problems in the future. And there's a lot of good stuff in this thing, like avoiding leapfrog development, encouraging development in areas with public water and sewer and suitable roads, and avoidance of adverse impacts on communities and neighbors and noise and light pollution and stuff like this. Another thing, when these rezoning issues arise, and I'm very limited in my experience with these things, but it seems to me like the businesses who are trying to get rezoned have an automatic edge over the people who are trying to resist it. And I think that's something we definitely need to address and take a look at something like that in this county.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Next up is Bill Russell, followed by Trip Almy.
Bill Russell, Carrs Creek. Thank you for having us up here. And I did want to address the comprehensive plan, which I have actually read the draft in total. And I say this in a meaningful way. I think I like this comprehensive plan. I believe that it attempts to do the right thing for the right reasons. My concerns, particularly with regard to utility scale solar, is that special use exception process is undermining this plan. The plan sets out concerns, it sets out goals, it sets out reasons for certain actions in zoning, and yet we turn around and undermine those by accept special use exception. And we're also in that process, in my experience in the hearings, when these are happening, we're not looking at the fact that special use exceptions, as they're used at any point, the burden is on the applicant. And we're really not putting them through an examination of what they're proposing to do versus what the county is proposing to do in the comprehensive plan, in the effect of the comprehensive plan. And I'll finish with the thought, we live in a society that has an increasing distrust of government process. And I'm not saying that this committee, because I like this committee actually, but when we do things that undermine people's certainty and expectations, such as, here's what this zone is, you can build a house here and don't expect there's going to be a utility next door to you, we further undermine that. And I hope you consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Trip Almy, followed by Michelle Johnson.
Evening, I'm Trip Almy, Carrs Creek. First, I'd like to just draw your attention to the second paragraph on page 258 of the land use chapter of the comprehensive plan. And in short, I'll summarize, it states the goal is to preserve the rural character of the county. Similar statements are found throughout the comprehensive plan, reinforcing the high priority of this goal. So taking that into consideration, I would suggest that the special use exceptions for large scale industrial solar plants, which is defined as greater than 1 megawatt, in agricultural zoned areas are anathema to the stated goal of preserving our rural character. Industrial solar plants belong on industrial zoned land, not on rural agricultural land. I'm not here to recite a litany of negative impacts associated with solar plants, although there are many. I'm not even here to espouse the negative environmental and climate impacts, but I, as do many of our county residents, understand that the industrial scale solar power plants on rural agricultural land negatively impact our ecosystem by putting direct pressure on farming and our food supply. Per data in the comprehensive plan, the number of farms in Rockbridge County in 2022 decreased 15%, resulting in a net loss of 10,000 acres, nearly 10,000 acres of farmland. Permitting industrial scale solar plants by special use exception will only accelerate the loss of farmland in our county. One other effect I'll bring to your attention is the negative impact on property values. There's a 2023 article out of Lawrence Livermore, published in the journal Energy Policy in which they analyze property sales within a 4-mile radius of industrial scale solar plants in 6 US states, one of those states being our neighbor, North Carolina. Comparisons were made for periods prior to and after construction of the industrial solar plant. I'll point out the most important conclusion among the many that were made, and that was property values within that 4-mile radius decreased 5.8%. 5.8% in the face of rapidly rising real estate values in surrounding counties or surrounding areas outside that 4-mile radius. Those sales prices were also negated to some degree by looking at urban solar plants where there was a minimal impact. So given the rural nature of our county, it's especially important to take that into consideration. So based upon the foregoing, we, the Rockbridge Taxpayers Alliance, several of us are here tonight, strongly advise amending the draft comprehensive plan to limit construction of industrial scale solar and wind projects to the general industrial district and to eliminate permitting of such projects through special use exemptions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Michelle Johnson, followed by Steve Chater.
Thank you. I'm Michelle Johnson, and I am here with the Rockbridge Taxpayers Alliance. And we have formed to promote transparency and accountability in county government. I do wish to say I appreciate the consideration that the Planning Commission has given to the applications for solar that have already been considered. I also want to say how much I appreciate much of what's in the draft comprehensive plan. And there's some beautiful language in there. I just want to read a little bit of it to you. It's your plan, but there's some wonderful language in there. On page 75, it talks about the attractive landscape and the valuable natural resource that we have in Rockbridge County. And it talks about many residents and visitors, and we should keep in mind agritourism and the importance of agritourism. The land has a special look that even surrounding counties can't match, even though the same features are present. And there also talks about natural environment goals, and it talks about site development, natural features of the land, maintaining ground covers, protecting the conservation, both habitat for wildlife, preserving our agricultural way of life, and aesthetic reasons. And I want to put all of that against what has been going on with the use of special exceptions. And I support comments that have been previously made, although I would come out and be, for the most part, probably opposed to rezoning agricultural land as industrial. It would force us to go through a very public and clear process. And I think that's what's needed. What's happening now is a de facto regulation, agricultural land. We're at the beginning of something new. We don't really know, but I'm going to make a prediction. You can write it down. The agricultural land that is turned into a solar field has been made industrial land. That's never going to go back to being agricultural land. And that's a problem. And it also is this sort of rolling crisis where the timeline is started by the applicant. And so it constantly leaves citizens rushing and fumbling to try and get heard. And that seems to be increasingly an issue. And I also support the comments about a fair, open, and transparent process where everyone's concerns can be put on the table is something that we need more of, not less of. And I just want to close by saying we need a process that promotes citizens' trust in the process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Cater, followed by Charles Bedell.
Good evening. I'm Steve Cater, South River District. Earlier this year, Volcano Energy applied for a special exception permit to build a utility-scale solar electricity generating facility near US 11 and Steels Fort Road. The Board of Supervisors voted to deny the permit at their meeting on March 11th, and Volcano Energy subsequently filed suit against the Board of Supervisors, seeking judgment that the decision was arbitrary, capricious, unreasonable, and ultra vires. They asked the court to void the decision and order the Board of Supervisors to reconsider their application. I don't know if their case has merit, but it points to some of the problems with the county's current process of permitting utility scale power generating facilities in agricultural zones by special exception. In the draft comprehensive plan on page 262, item 17 mentions that we should implement an ordinance guiding the current approval process for solar energy generating facilities. And I've seen the draft of that ordinance, and it includes language that allows exceptions on nearly every point. Anything that could be measured, there's always a phrase that this can be changed depending on circumstances, that sort of language. So it really does not adequately address the arbitrary and capricious nature of the current special exception permit process. So I'd like to voice my support for the resolution that the Rockbridge Taxpayers Alliance has submitted, restricting utility scale energy projects to designated industrial zones would obviate the special exception permit process and thwart future claims that decisions are arbitrary and capricious. So I urge the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors to include language in the new comprehensive plan that restricts new utility scale energy projects to industrial zones. And just a couple of general comments on the plan. It's really an excellent document. There's so much good information in it, but it's missing an introduction. I'd like to see an explanation of the purpose and scope of the document. What's it for? Who's its audience? How should it be used? I'd also like to see a table of revisions from the last version. My wife and I sat down and tried to compare the changes, and it's tricky because some things were moved and some things were dropped out and other things were modified. So having that in one place, you say, oh, this is what they changed, and make it a lot easier to go through. The population of our county is aging, it's shrinking. The relative value of our agricultural output is dropping, and farmland is disappearing. So I'd like to know, what are we going to do about that? Is this something we want? That's the sort of thing that I would expect in a comprehensive plan. Thank you very much for your time and your interest. Thanks.
Thank you.
Charles Bedell.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charles Bedell. I'm a resident of South River District. Have been for about owned property there for about 20 years. I'd like to associate myself with many of the comments that have been made before. I would like to also quickly say, and I'm not gaslighting you or whatever the proper term is, but you're at the point of the spear. You're the people that have to weigh things, take the brunt of criticisms, and you deserve a lot of credit for just being there and doing that for our community. And it's a real service. And I think we all appreciate what you do. In short, in looking at the existing documents and the new one that you've come out with, the draft that's you're considering tonight, I found it was on page 207, paragraph 2 of the existing document, where it talks about the Bark and Virginia Power were interviewed and talked to in the preparation of that document. And they came out with this, there's a statement in there that each utility has sufficient capacity to serve the present customers and has detailed plans for meeting future service requirements in the area, in our county. And I don't know if that's really a part of what is considered in reviewing applications for exceptions to things. But if it isn't needed in this county, why are we taking the chance of putting agricultural and other valuable areas into a new category that could diminish their value and their long-term value? This is like the bonds we have in our account, where we're trying to keep something for the future. And I think that we should carefully review and make sure that we're not making exceptions here to benefit data centers in Northern Virginia or wherever else. I think I'm particularly interested with my background in the ordinance that you're coming up with. I haven't been able to get a copy of it yet. I have some experience in writing laws and things in Congress and whatever, but I really am looking forward to reviewing that and maybe being able to offer some comments in connection with that. I was in the industry that was highly regulated when I was working, and have been on the other end of requirements for facility siting and that sort of thing, and look forward to observing and perhaps being able to contribute to that issue. So thank you very much. And again, thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir.
That is everyone that has signed up. Is there anyone else in person that would like to comment? Seeing no one, Chris, is there anyone online that would like to comment?
Yes. Miss Oliver has her hand up. And you should have the floor, Miss Oliver.
Excellent. And I'm assuming everybody can hear me in the room?
Yes, ma'am.
Excellent. Hi, my name is Jeannie Oliver, and I'm a resident of South River District. And I'd like to thank you for the process you followed in updating the comprehensive plan. I understand that those local district meetings that were recently held were not required, and we very much appreciated the opportunity to read the draft plan and to ask questions and to have a dialogue about changes and provide comments that were incorporated into this final draft. I also want to take this opportunity to impress upon this commission the importance of every member here and those of the Board of Supervisors to read both this document and the land development regulations, and to base all of your decisions on these documents. This county is an incredibly special place to live, and residents live here specifically for the attributes and the rural and mountain and agricultural character of Rockbridge County. And while we totally understand that development can occur, many of us purchase land here, particularly in the outlying agricultural and mountain regions of the county, for the express purpose of not having the land around us developed for commercial reasons. Not every corner of the county needs to be developed, and most people would agree that pouring concrete over agricultural and forestal lands cannot be turned back. And so once you open the door to development in these sensitive and important areas, you cannot stop it. You cannot return it to its natural state. And there isn't that much open land left for us to preserve. So protecting what we have is critically important. So I appreciate the opportunity to present these thoughts and want to emphasize to you not only the desire of the residents of Rockbridge, and particularly those of us that are living in the rural, agricultural areas, but the expectation that members of this commission and of the Board of Supervisors recognize and prioritize the protection of certain parts of this county to prevent unnecessary commercial development that can easily be located in zones that are closer to urban centers or are already zoned for commercial development. There is no need to commercially develop lands contained within the national forests where there are other locations that are more suitable for such development. We rely on you, the members of this commission specifically, to take very seriously your commitment to adhering to the principles contained in this plan and to make your decisions on special use exemptions in accordance with its principles. This is not just a philosophical document. This is the guide. In fact, this is the promise to the community, along with the land development regulations, that you are bound to base your land use decisions on. And we're here to remind you that your decisions don't just impact one landowner, but all of the residents of the county that surround them. We ask you to please prioritize protecting the beauty and the quality of life and residents in the rural areas of this county over the financial gains of individual developers. You can never replace the value of our forestal and agricultural lands with the short-term profits of special use exceptions for commercial development. We have been incredibly disappointed recently to perceive decisions from this commission seemingly to completely ignore the principles and priorities that are laid out in this plan. And so we support this plan. We have contributed to the plan. And as other people have mentioned, and I support all of the comments of my neighbors that have spoke today, we expect you and have elected those on the Board of Supervisors who appoint you to base your decisions. Every single decision that you make on special exceptions need to be based on the details and the priorities laid out in this plan. I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to offer these comments.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Chris, do we have anyone else online?
If anyone else online would like to make a comment during the public hearing comment, please utilize the raise your hand button now. Not seeing, I'll turn the floor back to the chair.
Okay, last chance. Anyone else in the audience here? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Cater, South River. I just want to say I appreciate everything everybody said, but if you read the comprehensive plan in detail, we are saying it should be your goalpost. Goalposts are set in concrete, just as Ms. Oliver said. We want you to follow the rules. But if you read these rules, they all say can be changed because they're flexible, they're movable. They're just sort of like a target that moves, like if you were deer hunting. So we would like, as a group, to have more details about it instead of having a moving goalpost, because we all really think that this is important for the future, for our grandchildren, for the land. I mean, I've lived in the county long enough to hear rumors. I've heard a rumor that Dominion doesn't even need the energy that's being produced by our solar panels and our complexes. I've heard that there were 25 truckloads of topsoil removed from the Alexander farm. I mean, I hear all kinds of stuff. The issue is, if we follow the rules set up in the comprehensive plan, if they are a goalpost and not a flexible target, then we can do that. And we'll avoid future lawsuits like what Volcano Energy wants. So please make it detailed, make it something that we can live with as a county. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no one else, I guess we'll go ahead and close the public hearing and open it up for general conversation. Before we do that, Chris, I thought maybe it might be good for you to mention, we got a copy of the plan that had a few corrections. I think from what I saw, they're very minor typos, just correcting some data or deleting some data. So I think that version is still on the county website, or did go on the county website. So take a look at that. You should be able to see the track changes that were made. But from what I saw through a brief look at it, it was very minor. Nothing of substance changed. So again, thank you all for your comments.
That is correct. So since it was published online soon after the last planning commission, which was June 12th, we did have a track changes copy presented to the planning commission, and I have tracked those changes consistently. So that is available online. Our plan is to, and of course, the original plan that was published the day after the planning commission, or night of the planning commission on June 12th, is still online, but it does not have the track changes. So our plan, based on planning commission's action this evening, we will replace that link with the updated plan without the track changes, essentially.
Okay, thank you. Open up for discussion.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank all the people for coming in and commenting, because this land is our land. It's your land and our land. And I think I moved here in April 2020. And basically I was a hostage for a year, and I was lucky enough to come in here and get appointed. And I think that's the problem, that you look at, if we want solar, why aren't we building it on federal government land? Why aren't we building on state land? Why aren't we building on, public land? If we want the electricity, and it's true, the Dominion electricity, doesn't need this electricity, but it's mandated by the state of Maryland. And there's a lot of other things. I get kind of excited, but I'll stop there and I'll have more comments later.
I have one comment for everybody. Solar is the hot button right now, and the Board of Supervisors, Planning Commission, and some of the members of the community have developed a draft solar ordinance that will be folded into the comprehensive plan. Is this the time to talk about that now?
Yeah.
Chris, is this a good time to talk about that?
Yeah, I believe so.
Chris, I think you said, Vivica said you're going to post that online. Is that correct?
We certainly could. So at the
Some
end
people
of the,
have it already, I see. Okay.
Yes.
But, there's another meeting coming up, and I would encourage people to review that draft and show up at that meeting as well. I don't know if that's my responsibility to say that or yours, Dave.
Yeah, I was going to mention the same thing. I mean, I appreciate everyone's comments. It sounds like mostly everyone appreciates the plan, is in favor of it. Sticking point is the solar, and I'm not sure how. The way I look at it is kind of two separate issues. I don't know that we really address any one type of use specifically in the plan. And like you said, it's an overarching goalposts. And I would encourage you all to stay involved with the development of the future solar ordinance, which should be coming out for public comment, public hearing in the next month or two. But I'll let Chris speak a little more to that.
And just to confirm, the solar ordinance would be part of the land development regulations. They would not be a part of the comprehensive plan.
Yes, exactly. Thank you, Vivica.
Thank you.
Yeah, a little bit of background on that. So the latter part of 2003, the Board of Supervisors created a solar committee. And essentially since that time, the solar committees met on a bi-monthly or every other or twice a month, excuse me. It consists of one member of the Planning Commission. Mr. Whitmore has been there for that. One member of the Board of Supervisors, Supervisor Ayers, had that responsibility. One member of the Farm Bureau, which was Max Smith, and then one member of Rockbridge Area Conservation Council, which was Mr. Bob Bursack. And then we had two community members at large. That's John Campbell and Bob Gilbert. So we appreciated everyone's time. We have held the last solar committee probably about 2 months ago now. And that was in conjunction with the updated comprehensive plan, of course. With that being said, soon after the comprehensive plan is adopted, whether that's this evening by the Planning Commission on potentially on 22nd with the board, or after, soon after that, the Planning Commission, the Board of Supervisors, and the Solar Committee are planning to hold a joint work session. And then based on that conversation, we could get direction to take it to a public hearing, if you will. Zoning text amendments require a public hearing, and so that would be the process. With that being said, of course, I've shared the Solar Committee workings, findings, and draft ordinance with any and all that have requested it. We will try to get that online here very shortly as well to continue that process. But the current plan does still allow for it by special exception. There's a lot of commercial uses in an agricultural zone that could come to, some would consider more passive, less passive, but things like landing strips are used by special exception in the agricultural 2 general use district. Mining operations are actually a use by special exception to the A2 zoning district. Sawmills, commercial sawmills are also used. So we do have commercial uses in the agricultural district by special exception. And that's one thing I want to talk about. It was some comments made about a transparent process or a clear process or a public process, and special exceptions are very much, in my opinion, very much of a transparent and public process. Obviously, when we have an application for anything, whether it's a commercial sawmill, a landing strip, a mining operation, or solar facility in the agricultural zone, we are required to post the property with a zoning action pending. We're required to do certified mail to all direct to land adjoiners, and then also a newspaper advertisement. All of those are notices of public hearing. So we certainly do our best to get the word out and respond to questions and concerns as they arise. With solar or any other special exception that we have in any zoning district, whether it be business or agricultural.
Okay. Thank you, Chris. Anyone else have anything? I'm just gonna say I think I feel good about the plan. And sending it on to the Board of Supervisors. I appreciate everyone's comments tonight, and definitely stay involved with the solar ordinance as it develops or not. Be looking for that in the next couple of months. We've closed the public hearing. I did see, yes, sir, your hand. I guess we could take one last comment, can we, or no?
No, when the public hearing closed, it's closed. So
Okay.
afterwards
Sorry,
they can
sir.
talk to you. Well, that shouldn't be done during this time, but maybe afterwards you could ask.
So with that, I feel comfortable with someone making a resolution to send this to the Board of Supervisors. I don't know if anyone's willing to make one tonight or not, but
I really appreciate how hard they've worked on that, and it has been open to the public. I feel it should be a living document, and I think the public needs to stay involved in that, but this is a great starting point, and I would like to see this plan approved. We make a motion, is that how we're supposed to proceed here, or Chris, is that what?
Yes, sir. It would be a motion. So in your package included was a resolution to approve, prepared by Mr. John Dryden. So the motion would be to pass the resolution as prepared by Mr. Dryden.
I move to pass the resolution as prepared by John Dryden.
second. We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
And
Passes.
just to clarify, that was resolution is to approve, to recommend that the,
Correct. Move to approve the resolution.
yeah, it says, and the resolution is to recommend the adoption of the comprehensive plan to the Board of Supervisors.
I recommend the,
I think the vote's
You
okay. I
got
just
it?
wanted to clarify so everybody knew.
Yeah,
That's
okay,
what
it's,
yeah, thank you.
yes, I approve of that. Yes.
Okay, I guess the last item on our agenda is zoning text amendment discussion, continued discussion on the revisions to the definition of restaurants. Chris,
Yes, I apologize. It's somewhat a broken record on that one, but staff did not have ample time to prepare essentially a draft ordinance associated with that. But we certainly will be able to do that by August is my anticipation.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. All right. If that concludes our business, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Make motion to adjourn.
Motion. Second, all in favor? Aye. You.
Well done.
Thank everyone. I apologize on the technical difficulties at the beginning of the meeting.
Chris.
Take care.
Sir.